Hey Java developers, are you ready to master arrays? Today we are diving into the ultimate practice session, 50 Java array questions and one single video. Whether you are a beginner or an expert preparing for a high-level coding interview, this video is your one-stop resource to master arrays. We have structured the session into three levels. We'll start with 15 easy questions, move into 20 intermediate challenges, and finish with 15 expert level problems. I have also included a link to the PDF of these questions in the description so you can follow along. If you are new to Infosmart Solutions, make sure to subscribe for more coding masterclasses. Now let's jump straight into question number 1. So the very first question is to take 5 integers as input and print them. So to take input, we first use the scanner class. So to use it, we'll first import it. Here we'll write import java.util.scanner, and here we will be making an object of the scanner class. So scanner sc is equal to new scanner, and inside it we'll write system.in. That is, we are taking the input from the system or keyboard. So first we will be making an array. To make an array with a defined number of elements, we'll first write the name of the array. So let's say ARR1. Then we'll define the data type of the elements inside the array, which is integer. So int. And to tell that this is an array and not just an integer, we'll put square brackets like this. Now this will be equal to, we'll write new, then the type again int, and inside this we'll write the number of elements in the array. So let us take it 5 because the question says to take 5 integers as input. Then we'll put a semicolon. So here we have made one array. Now the next thing is to make a variable num. So the data type of that num should be int. So we'll write int num like this. So we have initialized a variable with integer as its data type. It's showing yellow lines here because these are not used further in our program, so that's why it's showing like that. All right, so now we have to take input one by one. We have to take 5 inputs, so we'll use the for loop. So we'll write for. Now inside parentheses we'll write int I is equal to 0. That is, we have initialized one variable I. Its data type we have given as int, and its value is 0 at first. Now we'll put the condition on I, so I should be less than 5. So we'll put the third, that is I plus plus. This means that I will be 0 at first, and it will go until and unless this I is less than 5 condition is true. So that means it will go from I is equal to 0 to I equals to 4, because we are incrementing I one by one. In each loop, after each loop executes, the value of I increases. And so I will go from 0 to 4 in this loop. Now inside this, we have to take input. So for taking the input, we'll write num is equal to, because we already made this variable above, so num is equal to sc. And this sc is this object of scanner class we made. We'll write here dot next int because we have to take integer as our input. Now the other thing will be to set that input as an element of this array that we made ARR1. So for that we'll write here ARR1 with index I is equal to num. So what this means is, like for example, at first I is 0. then it asks the input from the user. So let's say we give 3 as the input. So then it will say ARR1 and I is 0. This will be equal to 3. So the first element, that is with 0th index element of this array, will be set as 3. And in a similar fashion, when I is 1 and let's say we give the input as 2, then the first index element, that is the second element of the first index, it will be assigned the value as 2. If I brief you about the index, so let's say if we have 1 2 3 4 like this array, so this is the first element or the 0th index element of the array. This is with index 1, this is with index 2, and this is with index 3. Alright, so this is the taking the input and forming the array. Now the next thing will be to print that. So to print the array, we'll again use the for loop, or we have a shortcut as well. So let's first see with the for loop. So we'll define again for int I is equal to 0, I is less than 5, I plus plus, and inside this we'll write system.out.print. So for writing that, we can simply write out and tab. Now inside this we'll write AR1, which is the name of an array, and inside the square brackets we'll give the index I. So like this, it will print all the elements inside the array because it will traverse through all the elements of the array one by one and then it will print it. Now let's run this. And it's asking for the input. So let us say 2, 3, 4, 1, like this. And you can see we have this array printed, but like it's printed in different lines. So for that, what can we do is we can just remove this ln. Ln means a new line. So if we remove this and we can add a space after every number like this. So if we print it now, say 1 2 3 4 5, you can see 1 2 3 4 5 is printed. We can even print something before this taking the input. So we can write here enter south, and then inside this enter number like this. So if we run this, you can see enter number is written. Now we can give this. So we got this as the result. So now let's see an alternate to print the arrays. So instead of this for loop, just comment this. What we can do is we can write here system.out.println, or simply we could have written out and use tab. Inside this we'll write arrays dot to string, and inside this we'll write the name of our array, which is ARR1. So we have to import here java.util.arrays. Now let us run this and see. We have to enter the numbers, and you can see 1 2 3 4 5, the array is printed. So arrays.toString is a built-in Java method used to convert an array into a readable string format. Like if we would have simply printed instead of this, we would have printed the array like this and see the results. So you can see the memory reference of that array is printed, but the array is not printed. So it is writing arrays.toString, we can simply print the whole array. But this arrays.toString works for only 1D arrays. For 2D arrays, we have arrays.deep2string array. So we'll see in further questions. Now let us move to the next question. Next question is to print all elements of an array. So if we have, for example, a random array, we can make it using these curly braces. So let us say 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll just use the for loop again. Int I is 0, then I is less than. Now, to see the length of this array, we can simply write here AR2, that is the name of an array, dot length, then I plus plus like this. We'll write this out, and inside this, we'll give the index of each of the element like this by writing I, and we have used the loop, so it will traverse through every element of the array and it will be printed. There is an alternate to this, and that is we can write here for int number. Number is just our variable in ARR2. So for every element it will traverse through in this array named ARR2, and then it will print the number. And we can remove ln here like this. Now let us print this and see. So we got 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. We can even print a line in between like this. So you can see we got the same result by both the methods. Now let's see the next question, which is to find the sum of all elements in an array. So let us take the same array as above, integer array 2, and we have to calculate the sum of all elements, so we need a variable. So let us name it sum. Int sum is 0. This is that we are initializing a new variable named as sum, and we are giving its value as 0 at first. Now we'll move to every element of the array using this method int number in array2, that is colon array2, and we'll just sum it. So sum is equals to sum plus number, that is that in sum this number is added. So at last we'll get the total sum of all elements. So we have printed sum, and now let's run this and see. We got 10 as the answer. So 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 3 is 6, 6 plus 4 is 10. Yeah, indeed, we got the correct answer. Now let us see another question, which is to find the average of elements in an array. So to find the average of elements, we need the sum. So let us just keep this. And after calculating the sum, we just need to divide by its length. So we can say here to print sum divide by its length, and we already saw above how to calculate the length of the array. That is the name of the array dot length. If we run this, it should be 10 divided by 4. So we got the integer value, which is 2. Now the next question is to find the largest element in an array. So let us take another array now. Let it be 1, 2, 5, 3, 4, anything like this. And now we have to find the largest element. So first we'll use the for loop. So for int number in colon arr, and inside this we'll check if the number is greater than another number. So for that we have to first take a number. So let us say int largest number is equal to number with index 0. So we have considered this one as the largest number now. Now we'll check for every number if, for example, first we'll see we have considered largest number to be 0. Oh, sorry, 1. That is with 0th element. Now we'll go to every element of this array and we'll check. Example, if 1 is greater than 1, we'll say no. Okay, so let's move to another loop. And so next will be that is 2 greater than 1, then yes, 2 is greater than 1. So we'll say largest number should be replaced by this number. So that is, this will be 2. Now the next is 5. So we'll see if 5 is greater than 2, and yes, so this will be replaced by 5 like this. So we'll apply this logic, and for that we'll write here if largest number is smaller than num, then largest number will be equal to num. And at last we'll just print the largest number. Let's see the results. And we got 5 as our answer. And indeed 5 is the correct answer. For example, if we write here 50, 47 and 185 like this, you can see again we got the correct answer. Now the next question is to find the smallest element. So to find the smallest element, we just have to change the sign. And if we print this, we got 1 as the answer. Because now we need to check if the number we have selected is greater than any other number. If it's greater, then we have to replace that number by a smaller number because we wanted the smallest number of all. Now the next question is to count the even and odd numbers in an array. So let's take the same array, this, and to count the even and odd numbers, we will be needing two variables. So we'll say in C1 is equal to 0 and in C2 is equal to 0. So we'll move to all the elements. So int num colon arr, and we'll check if the number is divisible by 2 or not. So if num is divisible by 2, then we'll simply increase one of these. So let us consider C1 to be count of even numbers and C2 to be count of odd numbers. So if it's divisible by 2, it means it's an even number, so C1 should be increased by 1. Else C2 should be increased by 1, because if it's not even, then it will be odd. At last we can print this, so we can write number of even numbers are C1, and here we'll write and number of odd numbers are C2. So let's run this. Number of even numbers are 3 and 5, so we can give here space. So it says that number of even numbers are 3. Let us see, in this array we have this as odd, even, then odd, even, and this one is odd, 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 uneven. Yes, indeed, even numbers are 3, odd numbers are 5. Now let's move on with question 8. So question 8 says to reverse an array. Now we have two methods for this. Let's first name one array, or we already have this. Let us name a new. So mm, just randomly I have given numbers in this array. Now for reversing in an array, what we can do is first we can print the last element, then the second last element, and then the third last element, and so on, like this, the first element. For this we can use the for loop for int I is equal to, and we need the length of the array. So first we can define there int n is equals to ar dot length. So we get the length of the array in n, which is 5 here, and we need here the length minus 1, because this is 0th and this first, second, third, and fourth. So 3 is the fourth index element and not the fifth index element. So we need I should be equal to n minus 1. Then I should be greater than equal to 0, because just have to go till here to the first element or the 0th index element. And we need to decrement I, so I minus minus. Inside this we can just print like this. Let us see. We got 3, 5, 4, 2, 1. Now another way to print it like an actual array with square brackets. So what we can do is we can create another array. So this is the alternate. In this we can write, for example, reverse array or REV array. This will be the name of a new array. Then we'll define it to have 5 elements, or we can even write here n, because we already calculate the length of that array. Anyway, it's fine. Then we have to define another number. So we have taken the name of the variable as num, which is n divided by 2. Now we only want its integral part, so we'll just write integer like this. Now we'll use the for loop for int I is equal to 0, I is less than num, and I plus plus. Inside this, what we'll do is we will swap two elements, the element with index I and the element with index n minus I minus 1. Let us first write and then we'll see how it works. So this should be equal to n minus I minus 1, and so this should be equal to temp, which is our temporary variable. So what are we doing here is, for example, if, like this is the array. We have 5 elements here, so 5 divided by 2, which is 2.5, its integral part will be 2. So we got num as 2, and we said that I will be 0 at first, then it will be 1, and it should be less than 2 because num is 2 in our case. So I will be first 0 and then I will be 1. So when I will be 0, the temporary variable will have 1 as its value. Then this element, that means the first element or with 0th index, will have the value n minus I minus 1. And this means that we're just swapping the first and the last element. Then we're swapping the second and the second last element, and this one will be at its position. If we like take here 7 like this, now we have even number of elements. Then it will swap first and last element, second and second last element, third and third last element like this. Now we have to print arrays dot to string, and our array is reverse ARR. So let us see the result. We got something wrong, and let us see why is it so. Yeah, because we initialized reverse array with 5 elements, so it was 0 0 0, and we just printed that we forgot to add the elements in that. So basically we just have to print our original array here, and there is no use of reverse array because we're just swapping these elements within the array, and we're not using the reverse array here. So we can just do it like this, and you can see we got this 7 3 5 4 2 1 as the correct array. Now let us move on to the next question, which is to search for a given element in an array, or we also call it as a linear search. So let us take one array and let it be 1 2 3 4 4 3 whatever. Now let us see how do we search 5 in this. We'll traverse to every element of the array, and then we'll put the condition if that element is equal to the number we want. So which number we want? We want num. So if this element is equal to num, then we'll simply print the index. So I is the index here. So the index will be printed when the number we want to find is equal to the element of the array. So you can see we got 4, so 0 1 2 3 4, and yeah, 5 is at the fourth position. Now if you want to count how many times a given number appears, then what we can do is we can use the same. So here the number is 5 and we want to calculate its frequency, so we want one more variable, which is frequency. And now if the element is equal to the num, then instead of printing the index, we have to increase its frequency by 1 like this. And at last we will print the frequency. So you can see here we got 1 because 5 is only once. So let us see this. Got the answer as 3 now. So we'll just add it 1 whenever that particular number was coming in the element of array. Now the next question is to replace all negative numbers with 0. So we'll take array with negative numbers also this time, like this. And now we have to replace all the negative numbers by 1. So we again have to go in this using the for loop, and inside this we have to check the condition if that element is less than 0, or we can say if that element is negative, then it should be 0. So we simply this is equal to, we'll simply go in this array, like for example we'll see -1. So if -1 is less than 0, and yeah, it is, so that element will be equal to 0, so this will be 0. Again this will be 0. Positive numbers will fill this condition, so that's why it will not be changed. Let us print the array. Name of the array is ARR, so let's see, got 050, 0450, yes. Now the next question is to print elements at even indices. So let's just see this only. We have to print even index elements now. So what we can do is we can start with 0. Okay, then we want 2. This means this element. But if we are going through this for loop, then it will be 0, 1, 2. It will be going to every element. So what we can do is we can simply change this condition. This I plus plus means I equals to I plus 1. So instead of this, you can change it to I is equal to I plus 2. So I will be 0 initially, so it will be this element, then I equals to I plus 2. So it will be second element thereafter. And we can simply print the element here. So you can see we got -1, 5. That is the element at the even indices. Next question is to print elements that are divisible by 3. So we can simply put our condition here, that is the number should be divisible by 3. So if R with index I is divisible, we'll see the remainder when it will be divided by 3. So remainder is seen by this modulo symbol, and if it's divisible, then we'll just simply print that. Let us see. And we didn't get any value because none of the numbers is divisible by 3 in this. We got 6 now. Next question is to copy elements of one array into another array. So let us comment this. To copy elements, what we can do is, first as usual, we have to make one array. Then we have to calculate the length of this array. Next thing will be to create another array. So let us name it as AR2, and its length will be equal to the first array. So we simply wrote here n instead of given 4, because if we change this array like this, we do not have to change any number here. Alright, now we can just move in the array using the for loop like this. So it will go from 0 to the length -1. That is all the elements from 1 to 5 in this. And we have to set those elements as the elements of this array ARR2. For that, we'll write ARR2 with index I is equal to ARR with index I. So that means the ARR2, for example, if we see here, is equal to 0, 0, 0, 0, like this. When we'll say to set with index I is 0 first, so this element will be set as 1. So when it will go to the for loop this again, and then I will be incremented by 1, so that means I will be 1. So with first index, this 2 is there, so it will be set as the value of first index in this ARR2, so that means 2 will be here, and likewise 3, 4 and 5, this will be the answer. Now let us print. So this is ARR2, and 1 2 3 4 5 should be printed, and yeah, we got the correct one. Now there is an alternate method is to use arrays.copyof. This is a built-in Java method that creates a new array by copying the specified range of the original array. So we'll just write here int arr3, let's say. This is equal to arrays dot copy of. Now inside this will be a name of the array we want to copy, and this n is the length. So we already calculate the length of the array as n. So this means the first argument is the original array, and the second argument is the length of the new array. So we are copying the entire array, and that's why we are just simply writing the length of that array. Okay, I haven't printed this. So let us see this, and we got the same answer using copy of. There's one more alternate to this, which is the clone method. It creates a new array that is a copy of the original array. It is a simple and efficient way to duplicate an array in Java. So for this, we can simply write int, and let us say arr4. This is equal to arr dot clone, and let us print this. So again, we got the same answer. Let us move on to the next question, which is to check if an array is sorted in ascending order. So to check an array sorted or not, we have a built-in sorting function, but let us first use the logic. So what the logic says is, first we have to define the array, so 1 2 3. Now we can go to all the elements of the array, and we can check if the next element is greater than the element before it or not. If it's not, then it is not in ascending order, and if the right element is greater than its left element, then it will be in ascending order. So for int I is 0, I is less than, and it will be arr dot length minus 1, or we could have even made one variable n to calculate arr dot length. It's okay. Then I plus plus. Inside this, we'll check if arri is greater than arri plus 1. It will be like this. So arri plus 1 to check ascending, this should be greater than this one. And if it's greater, then we can put a condition. So we can make a boolean flag is equal to true, and here we can write that flag is equal to false. I have not directly printed it ascending or descending. Instead, I have taken flag This is because if instead of flag, we'll write to print ascending order, if this condition follows, then it will print ascending so many times. So we can even see how. So let us just remove this and let's write here ascending. Let us print this. So you can see it's written 2 times. If we just take a bigger array like this, I can see how many times it has written ascending like this. So to avoid this, we use this boolean value flag and we'll say it to be set false when okay, so we can write this condition here because we want the flag to be false when it becomes descending. So what are we doing is, let us start from beginning. So first we have considered the value of this flag as true and we are considering here it is ascending. Now we'll check if the previous element is greater than the right element, then it means that it is not ascending. So we are setting the value of flag to be false. And so if we'll print here if flag. So if flag means that if flag is true, then we'll say it to be ascending. And if it's not true, then we'll say it's not ascending. So here it is not ascending and you can see we got the correct one. Just remove 3 and then if we run it, and again we got ascending, which is correct. So alternate using the built-in sorting function. For that, we already have this array and we can make a copy of this array. Let's say here alternate. So let's make a copy. We can name it copy only arr dot clone, and after this we can sort the array. So arrays dot sort copy. So we have simply sorted the array using arrays dot sort, and now we can compare if arrays dot equal, and inside this we'll give the name of the arrays we want to compare. So first one is arr and second one is copy. So if both are equal, then we'll print it is ascending, else we'll print that it is not ascending. Uh, this is equals. Now let us run this. And you can see we got the same answer by both the methods. We can even check when it's not ascending. So it's shown not ascending. We have successfully completed 15 easy questions. Now let's move to intermediate level. Question 16 says to find the second largest element in an array. So in this question, sorting and picking the second last element is an easy method, but it's slower and doesn't work properly when duplicates are present because the second last element might still be the largest. So let's go with the efficient method, which is to traverse the array once and keep track of the second and second largest element. So for that, first we'll make one array like this, and then will set one value, that is this variable max. Its value will be integer dot max value or min value. So here we have to find the maximum, that it will be min value. Now we take one another variable which is like this, second max, and its value will also be integer dot min value. Now we'll traverse through the array. So we'll use the for loop, I plus plus, and inside this we'll see if the element of the array is greater than maximum, then second maximum will be equal to maximum and maximum will be equal to that number. So we'll write the first condition. If this is greater than equal to max, then max will be equal to that element and second maximum will be equal to first we have to set second maximum as maximum, because then otherwise this value will be lost of maximum if we already changed it before. Yeah, so second maximum will be maximum, maximum will be equal to this number. Our another condition will be if that element is greater than second maximum but it is not equal to maximum. For example, we can have number that is greater than second maximum but smaller than maximum. So between both of these. So we need the second largest element, and that's why we'll say the second maximum to be equal to that number. So we'll write here the element if it's greater than second max, and for writing and we'll use dollar twice, I should not be equal to max. If this condition holds, then second maximum is equal to that element. Now we'll just print here second largest element is second max. So what we did here is first we considered two variables and both of the variables had minimum value in it, and then we checked for every element, and if that element is greater than maximum, then we change the value of second maximum and maximum, both of the numbers, and if it's between second maximum and maximum, then we just change the value of second maximum number. So here the second maximum number is 12 and we got the same as our answer. Now let us move ahead with the second question, which is to find the second smallest element. So we can change this only. So for finding the smallest one, we can use the max value here as well. And we just have to slightly change our conditions. So the element in the array should be less than max, because this time we want the second smallest element, and here also the element should be less than second maximum and not equal to maximum, like this. So if we run this, we got 9, which is the correct answer, which is the second smallest element. Let us move on further. So question 18 says to remove duplicate elements from an array. So let's take an array with duplicate elements now. So 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, like this. And now we'll use the for loop again. And inside this, we'll see that if the elements are equal, if two of the elements of the array are equal, then it is duplicate and will not print it. If it's not duplicate, then we will print it. So we want two elements, right, to compare. So for two elements, we want two for loops. So one we have already written, and second we can write here. If this is 2, then it should compare it with 1. If this is 3, it should be compared with 1, 2, and so on like this. So for j is equal to j0, j should be less than I, because for 2 we want only 1, for 3 we want 1 and 2. So j should be less than I, and we have to increment j by 1. And here we'll compare both of the numbers. So if ith index element and jth index element both are equal, then we'll say is we can give a boolean values duplicate is equal to true, and we need to define here also. So boolean is duplicate is equal to false, and then we'll break, and just we have to compare. So we'll put 2 equal to, and another will be if it's not equal. So if not equal is duplicate. So we'll write not equal by using this exclamation, and inside this we'll write index with ith element. We'll print this. So let us run this, and we got 1, 2, 3. We got this answer. Hello. So in this, the problem is we have written here boolean is duplicate false outside this for loop. So it does not reset for every number. Like if we can see, this remains false till this element. Why? Because no other element is repeated till here. But when it comes to 2, then this 2 is repeated because we already have 2. So the value of its duplicate is true after this for all the elements, because it's not reset to false. And to reset it to false, what we can do is we can just write it inside this for loop. Now it should give the correct results. Let's see. And yeah, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so now let's move on. Another question, which is to merge two arrays into one. So this is question 19. We'll form two arrays, and another array be ARR2 Now we'll create one another array which will be a merged array. So we just have named it ARR3. Now this will be new int, and we have to define its the number of elements in this. So for that we can just write AR1 dot length plus AR2 dot length, like this. And now what we can do is we can add the elements of AR1 and AR2 in ARR3. So we can use the for loop for this. For int I is equal to 0 and I is less than array1 dot length I plus plus, and this should set the elements of third array. So like this, the third array will be equal to the first array. Now we want the third array to have second array also. So we'll write another loop here. So this will be that the second array elements get also added to the third array elements. So for this, we'll set here the index should be array1 dot length plus I, because we want the third array should have second array after the first element is added. Like we already have 5 elements here. Now if we write here like this, so it will not be correct, because then the first element of third array will be equal to the first element of second array, but second array should be added after first array, and that's why we write here array1 dot length plus I. Now we'll simply put print the third array. So we got this one till here is array1, and thereafter is array2. Now let us see the question 20. Question 20 is to find common elements between two arrays. So if we just take this array only, and if you want to find the common elements, then simply we'll use one for loop to traverse one array and another for loop to go through another array. So this is one array, that is AR1. Now we'll use another for loop for another array, which is ARR2. Inside this, we'll check if ARR1 with index I is equal to ARR2 with index j. Then it should print ARR2 with index j. Uh, or we can even print ARR1 with index I, because both of them are equal. Then only it will be printed. So we got 2 as the answer because 2 was the common element between both. So let's move on to the next question. It's an interesting one because it says to rotate array to the right by 1 position. So let us take the same array. Rotating it towards right, what does it mean? So it means that 1 should be at the place of 2, 2 should be at the place of 34, and so on. And 6, which is the last element, should be at the place of 1. So basically what we have to do is, we first have to remove 6. So we'll store 6 somewhere. Now we'll use the for loop and we'll say 5 to move at the last place. Okay, then 34 to move at the place of 5, like this. And when 1 will move to the place of 2, then the first element will not be there. So therein we'll put the value we stored of the last element. So let us write. First we'll calculate the length of this array. Then we'll store the value of the last element in temp. So arr n minus 1, mm, where n is the length of this. So n minus 1 index will be the last element, which is 6 here. And we'll use the for loop. So I, and yeah, it should not be 0, it should start with n minus 1. This is because we first have to move 5 to 6 position, 34 to this position. So like this. And that's why we are moving backwards. Like 5 first will move, then 34, then 2, then 1, like this. So should be greater than 0 and I minus minus. Then arri is equal to arri minus 1. Here it's arr1. Yeah. Now we'll set the first element to be the last element as we discussed. So arr1 with index 0 will be equal to temp, and then at the last we'll just print the array. Let us see. We got the correct answer. So the last element we put the first and rest we move towards right. Now if we have to rotate it by k positions, then simply we want one more loop which will run it k times. So question number 22 says to rotate array to the left by k positions. So as I said, we need one more loop which runs k times, and another reference in this question and question number 21 is that this time we have to rotate it towards left. So let us see. First we have this array. We also have calculated the length of our array, and here we need one loop. So for int j is equal to 0, and what should be j? So let us take it to be 3 example, like because it's written in the question k, so we can even take this k. So then we have to set this the value of k, or we can even take the input of the value of k. Then here j plus plus. This everything should be inside this for loop like this. And this time, because we are moving to, or rotating the array to the left, so we have to store the first element. So we have to store the element with index 0, and the last element, which is with index n minus 1, should be given this value. So you can see if we move towards left, then 2 will take place of 1, 34 will take place of 2, and so on. Then 6 will take place of 5, and the last element will not be there. So therein we have to put the value of this first element 1. And as I said that first 2 will take the position of 1, then 34 will 2. So we are going from forward this time, and that's why this will be from I is equal to 0 and I should be less than n minus 1. We have to increment I by 1. let us run this. We got some error which is -1 out of bounds for length 5. So let us see. Yeah, so here we have written I -1, and that's the issue. It should be I plus 1. And here we got the answer, which is correct. Let's move on to question number 23. Question 23 says to move all zeros to the end of the array. So let us take another array with many zeros in it. So 0, 0, 0, like this. And now we have to move the zeros to the end of the array. So here we need two loops. First loop will be like this. It will go from 0 to length -1, and second loop will be same, like from 0 to length -1. Now what we have to do is we have to check whether the element is 0. So if the element with index I is 0, then what we have to do is we just have to replace it with another element. Like first we'll see if this is 0, and yeah, it's 0. So we'll just replace it by this element. Now if this is 0, we'll replace it by this, and so on. We are doing like this. And in one time it will not complete it, and so we are running this loop the same as the length of the array. So it's 0 to array length -1, which just means that this loop, the inside loop, will run as many times as the length of the array. So it finally we get 0 at the end. So to swap them, what we have to do is int temp is equal to the ith element and should be equal to I plus 1th, and I plus 1th should be equal to temp. And we have to print this array. So arrays dot toString, and name of our array is ARR. So we got here all the zeros at the end. Now there is an alternate to this. Alternate says that we have to take one loop. So int I is equal to 0, ar dot length -1. We can put this in parentheses, and I plus plus. So in this, what should be done is if the element is 0, then while ARR is array length -1, we are writing this again array length -1, so we could have in fact calculated it earlier, like int ln equals to array dot length -1, like this. And the second condition will be that this array dot length -1 should be greater than I. So let us just instead of this take n, and we already have n variable here. No, we don't, so we can take int n is equal to this, and we can even replace this by n. So we'll use this condition if the nth index element is 0 and it is greater than I, then simply n minus minus. If the nth index element is not equal to 0, then we simply have to swap it. And here we'll print our arrays dot to string arr. So here what we did is we just say that in the loop, if the element is 0, then while it will be 0 and greater than I, we can decrease it by 1, and then if we'll see if it's not equal to 0, then we'll just swap it. So this way we get all the elements or all the zeros at the end of the array. You can see here. Now the next question is to move all negative numbers to the beginning. So let us just comment this. So we'll take another array, and here we have to take negative numbers as well, like this. Now we'll use two loops again. So first j is 0, j is less than array length minus 1. So let us take here variable n, which is array length minus 1. So j is less than n and j plus plus. Now another loop. So int I is 0. Then I uh, here we'll just start it from backwards, and then we'll put the condition if I is greater than 0, then I minus minus. We'll just see if it's negative because we want all the negative numbers to be at the beginning. So if it's negative, then we have to swap it. So this no, it will be I, right? We have to swap it with I minus 1 because we want it in the beginning, not at the end. And at last here we'll just print the array. Let us run this, and we got all the negative numbers at the beginning. So what we did is we just went through the array. We saw all the negative numbers. If the number is negative, then we'll swap it with the number before it, and we are running the number of times we have the length of the array. Now let us see an alternate method for this question. So let us just comment this part. We have the array written above. Now let us first calculate the length of the array. What we will be doing in this alternate method is that we'll just see whether the number is negative or not. If it's negative, then we'll swap it with the first 0th index, first index, like this numbers. So let us first try it and then we'll understand it better. So we'll take one variable named as index, then we'll iterate over the array, and here we'll check if the number is negative, then we'll swap it. So this will be ith index should get swapped with index, and then index with temp, and we'll increase the value of index by 1. So what basically we did here is that we just took n as the length of the array, and then if the number is negative, then we'll move it towards the first one. That is, if we just see this array, then -8. This is the 0th element only, so it will get replaced by itself. Then the next negative element will be -5. So it will get replaced by this 0, because now the index value will be 1, because each time the condition is true and the loop runs, the value of index gets added by 1. And we also have to print, so arrays dot to string arr, like this. And okay, I have commented here these curly brackets of this public class and this method. So now let us run this. You can see we got the negative numbers at different. Now let us move on to the next question. It says to find frequency of each element. So let us just take the same array. So to find the frequency, we first have to calculate the length of the array, because we will have to iterate over the array. Now what we can do is we can run two loops here. The inner loop will see the frequency, and the outer loop will just select one element. Like if the outer loop selects -8, then inner loop will traverse over all the elements and see if -8 is there again or not. If it's there, then it will add up in the frequency variable. And similarly for 0, like outer loop will take this variable 0, then inner loop will see 0 is there again. Okay, then it will increase by 1, then again it will increase by 1, like this. And when we'll calculate the frequency of one element, we can print it. Like we can see here, I is less than n, then I plus plus, and inside this we'll write for int j0, j is less than n, j plus plus. We'll just check if the elements are equal, then the frequency should be increased by 1, and we have to print the frequency, and also have to make this variable frequency. So we'll make it inside the for loop so that it gets reset for every variable, every element. And we will print the frequency. So here we can print and we can like print it like this, frequency of this, then is equal to frequency, like this. Yeah, now let's run it and see this works fine. So we can see here we got the frequency of every element, but there's a problem that frequency of 0 is printed thrice. This is because the outer loop takes 0 one time this, then when the loop gets over and another starts, then it takes this and then this. So it gets printed thrice. So for that we can take uh, an array of boolean as the data type of its element, and we'll just set the value of the visited elements as true. So let us see how. First we have defined the array, so we have named it visited. Now we'll write here the condition: if visited with index I is equal to true, continue. And here we will say visited, the variable is j here, j is equal to true. So here by setting that particular element of visited array true, we are just marking the duplicates, or we are just saying in that visited array that particular element is true. And here we just say if it's true then continue, like it will not be repeated. We'll just calculate the frequency of one element once. Let us run this. So you can see now we got frequency of 0 as 3, and it is printed only once, it's not printed again and again. Okay, so let us see question 26 now. Question 26 is to find the missing number in an array of size n containing numbers from 1 to n. So first we will be needing an array. So let us say 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, like this. And we need to find the missing number in this. So the missing number will be 4 because it's going from 1 to 7. So 4 is not here. So first we'll calculate the length of this. Then we'll iterate over it. So we'll use for loop twice, and it will go till n minus 2, and that's why I write here less than n minus 1, and another one will be j is less than length of I minus 1 and j plus plus. So basically we are taking two loops here. One is going from 0 to this element, and the another one to length minus I minus 1. And here we'll check if the jth element is greater than j plus 1, then we simply swap it. Now we just have to print the array. So arrays dot toString arr. Here we have written n, but it's not n, it's len, because this time we took the variable of length as len, and we need it So missing number. So we'll have to put a loop again here, len, and then we'll check if the element is not equal to I plus 1, then simply we'll print that. So missing number, this will be I plus 1, and then break. So let us run this and see. We got missing number as 4. There's an alternate to this, and alternate is kinda easy. So first we comment this. We have the array with us, and here the number is still 7, so we'll just take int n is equals to 7. Then we say the expected sum. What is it? So it will be n into n plus 1 by 2. This is the formula of calculating the sum of first n natural numbers. So n into n plus 1 divided by 2. And then we'll say what is the actual sum. So let us take it 0. Then we'll iterate over the array. The name of the array is ARR, and we'll just sum. So actual sum plus equal to the number. And then we'll just print the expected sum minus actual sum. So what we did was, like, n is equal to 7. So we have numbers from 1 to 7. Now the sum of the numbers from 1 to 7 is calculated using this n into n plus 1 by 2, which is stored in expected sum. And then we'll calculate the actual sum, that is 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7, like this. We subtracted both of the sums to get the number which was missing from 1 to 7. Next, the question says to find all pairs whose sum equals a given number. So we first take a number, and of course we want an array as well. So let it be 1 2 3 4, and we want all those pairs whose sum is equal to 6. So like 3 plus 2 is 5, so we don't take this pair, but 2 plus 4 is 6, so we'll take this pair, or we'll print this pair. We will be needing another variable, so let us say cnt count. Now we'll start the for loop, so it will go till length of the array, and another one will also be till its length. Now we'll sum the element. So we have taken here one element using the inner loop and one element using the outer loop. So we'll just see if the sum of one element and the other, that is sum of ith index element and j index element both equals n, then we will print both of these. And then we'll increase the count by 1. We will print the count at the last, so total count is this. So what we did is basically we took 1 from the outer loop, then we calculated the sum, like if 1 plus 1, 1 plus 2, 1 plus 3, 1 plus 4, like this, which equals 6, and then we'll print it. Likewise we saw for 2 and for 3 and for 4. So let us print this. So we got 2, 4, 3, 3, 4, 2, all the possible pairs, which resulted in a sum of 6. So total count is 3. Now the next question is to check if two arrays are equal. So let's solve it using the logic instead of the built-in function. So we will take two arrays here and then we'll compare. So two arrays are equal only when all the elements are equal and they are in the same position in both of them. So we'll take a variable with boolean value true and we'll also calculate the length. First we'll check if the length of both the arrays are equal or not, because if the length is not equal, then we can directly say that the arrays are not equal. So if the length are equal, then we'll iterate over the loop and we'll see if all the elements are equal or not. So length are equal and we already calculate the length value was n. So we just use I less than n. So I will go from 0 to the length of the arrays. And then we'll compare if array 1 with index I is not equal. Then we'll say is equal to false. And we'll just break here. This is the if condition if both of the length are equal, but if both of the length are not equal, then also something to be printed. So that we can write here is equal false. And after that, according to if this condition is true, then we'll print arrays are equal. If it's not true, then we'll print arrays are not equal. So if is equal means if the value of is equal is true, then we will have to print that arrays are equal, and else will be that it should be printed that arrays are not equal. So arrays are equal. Let us say that it is like this. Then arrays are not equal. And let us take one another condition. Yeah, arrays are not equal. So it's fine. Now the next question is to find the intersection of two arrays. So let us say the array with the same intersection of two arrays. So we'll again have to iterate over the array. So we will take two loops, one for array 1 and another for array 2. And we'll see if any element is common in both, then we'll print that element. If array 1 with index I is equal to array 2's element with index j, then it will print that. So here we have printed, and here it will be 2 equal to because we are comparing them. 1 equal to is to assign the value to our variable. So we got 1, 2, 3. Let us see here, and yeah, 1, 2, 3 is the intersection of both the arrays. Now another question is to find union of two arrays. So this is similar to the one we solved above. So I recommend to try it yourself. Now let us move on to question 31. So it says to find the maximum difference between two elements. Okay, so we can comment this and we can make a new array because herein we want only one array. So, and so we have to find the maximum difference. For that, we'll again use the loops I plus plus and then j is less than the length j plus plus. Now we'll find the difference. So difference between an ith element minus jth element. And we'll see if that difference is less than 0, we can multiply it by minus 1 and then we can compare it with uh, another variable max. So we have to define the variable df and one another like max. So this will be the maximum difference. So we'll first check here if the difference is negative, then we'll multiply the difference by minus 1 and we'll compare the difference and maximum. So if the difference we got is greater than the maximum difference, then we simply change the value of maximum to the current difference we have. If we run this and we didn't get any because we haven't printed. So let us just print here max. We got 51 as our answer because 52 minus 1 this was the greatest one. If we add here 101 like this and then if we run it, we got 100 as the answer. So now the next question is to find the first repeating element. So to find the first repeating element, we have taken our array here and we can take for loop. We can even calculate the length of the array. So here we can simply write n minus 1. Then I plus plus and here j will be as we want to find the first repeating element. So we'll first take 3 from the outer loop and we'll compare it with all the elements like this. Then we'll take 7 and we'll compare it with all the elements until unless we get an element which is being repeated. So this will go from I plus 1 till n minus 1, and we'll increment it by 1. So we have to compare if they are equal. We will just print the element. But now we also want that only one element is printing, the first repeating element, and others are not printed. So we have to use break here, but it will break only from the inner loop and not outer loop. So for that we can write here outer loop like this, and here we can write break outer loop, and let us run this. There's no repeating element and so nothing is printed. If we want anything to be printed, then we can take a boolean value like flag, and we just can say that boolean flag is false. Initially it was true, then we can put the condition if it's false and print this, true then print this, something like that. Anyway, let us take some value, so 7 let's say. If we run this, we got 7 as the answer, which is the first repeating element. If we say here 101, and now if we run this, we again got the first repeating element only. So the next question is to find the first non-repeating element. So to find non-repeating element, we can find the frequencies of the element, and the one with frequency 1 will be a non-repeating element. So we already have the array above. We'll just apply the loop here, and here we'll say int frequency is 0. It will be only once because we are assigning the variable frequency a value which is 0. And another loop, so int j is 0 and j will be less than n, j plus plus. Inside this we'll just compare if both of them are equal, then frequency will be increased by 1. And here we'll write if frequency is 1, then it should print the element. And we need to find only the first non-repeating element. So we simply write here break. Now let us see. And we got 3 as our answer. Yeah, so 3, the first non-repeating element. Let us just see again. Now we got 1. Let us just comment this, and now we'll make a new array. So next question is to sort an array without using built-in sort, that is bubble sort, or maybe we can try another as well. So practice it yourself first. We used bubble sort in the above question to sort the array. You can also try other sorting or algorithms like selection sort, insertion sort, merge sort, quick sort, etc. We will be discussing them in the next video. So now let's move on to question 35, which is to check if array is palindrome. So we'll take an array like 1, 2, 3, 4, then 3, 2, 1. This is a palindrome, that is from starting and from end we get the same numbers. Now to check this, we have to see the half of the length. That is, like if the length is 7, then we'll just see the first three elements and the last three elements. If length is an even number, like say if this would be the array, then 8 is the length, so we'll see 8 divided by 2, which is 4. These 4 elements and these 4 elements. So basically we are seeing from the first and the last, if they are same then it's a palindrome, if it's not same then this is not a palindrome. So we first calculate the length divided by 2, then we'll take flag with boolean value true, and in the loop we'll take a variable. So we want the we want it to go from back to forward, so we can take one variable which is length minus I minus 1. So like if the length is, let's say, 8 here and I is 0, so this index will be 7. That is, it will be the last element. When I will be the first element, then through index we will get the last element. So we can easily compare the first and last element. Similarly, the second last element, like this. Now we'll check if they are not equal. We'll say the value of flag to change to false. And here, to print whether it's a palindrome or not, we can say if it's flag then print palindrome, otherwise to print not a palindrome. Let us run this, and we got it's a palindrome. Let us write this, then it's a palindrome again. Let us try this one, then it's not a palindrome. And with this question number 35, we completed the intermediate questions. Now let us move to difficult level. Our question is to find the maximum sub-array sum, Cardan's algorithm. So Cardan's algorithm is to first will initialize two numbers, current sum and maximum sum, and will give them some value, maybe the first element of the array. Then will iterate through the array starting from the second element, and we'll see the sum for each element. We'll compare it with the maximum sum. If maximum sum will be greater, then we'll just see the more current sum till we get all the numbers or all the sum of the numbers, and at last we'll give the maximum sum. Let us see. Let the number be -2, -1 something, 3. Now we'll first see current sum, that we give the value as the first index element, I mean the 0th index element, and maximum sum is also the first element. Then we'll say for int I is equal to 1, I is less than length of the array I plus plus, and inside this we'll see the current sum. If now we'll use math, so math dot max. So current sum is to be compared and is to be assigned the value, the greater one among the element we got and the sum of the current sum plus element. What this means is like we have minus 1 here, so it will see whether minus 1 is greater or minus 2 minus 1, which is minus 3 is greater. So minus 1 is greater, so current sum will be equal to minus 1. Similarly, then it will see whether minus 2 is greater or this 1 is greater. Minus 2, because minus 2 minus 1 plus 1 results in minus 2. So minus 2 is greater or 1 is greater. If 1 is greater, then it will give the value 1. And maximum is to see the maximum value of the current sum throughout this loop. So we'll just compare the current sum and maximum sum every time. And maximum sum will be given the value whichever is greater, whether itself or the current sum. So first we'll say int I is 1. So this will be minus 1. Okay, let us write here. So now current sum is minus 2. Then maximum sum is also minus 2. I is equal to 1 here. Uh, and here current sum will be equal to the maximum of element. So element is minus 1 because it's with index 1 and current sum plus the element. So current sum is minus 2. Minus 2 minus 1, which is minus 3. So among both, minus 1 is greater. So current sum will be minus 1 now. So we get current sum as minus 1. Now here it will compare maximum sum. So maximum sum was minus 2 comma minus 1. Now we'll get that minus 1 is greater than minus 2. So maximum sum will be minus 1. And again it will go here. I will be 2 this time. So it means we got one element and one is will compare between 1 and minus 1 plus 1. Because current sum was minus 1, then we'll add the element, so it will be 1. So minus 1 plus 1 is 0. So it will compare between 1 and 0. So current sum will get the value as 1. Now this is 1 and maximum sum was minus 1, so it will compare between minus 1 and 1. So the bigger value is 1, so it will get 1. Similarly, then I will be 3. And 3 means we get 4. So 4, and now it will see between 4 and 4 plus 1, which is 5. So 5 is greater, and again current sum will be 5. Now it will see between 1 and 5. So 5 is greater, again maximum sum will change. Like this it goes on. And at the last we get the correct value of maximum sum. So here we got 10. Now the next question is to find the next greater element for each element. So for every element in the array, find the next element to its right that is greater than it. If no such element exists, print minus 1. So let us take like mm, random numbers and here calculate the length and we'll make another array 2, which has the same number of elements as the above array. Now we'll use the for loop to iterate over the array for int j is equal to I plus 1, j is less than n, j plus plus, and we'll see if index element is greater than ith index element, then this should be equal to jth one, and then we'll break. So basically, like it was that we need to find the element that is greater than it towards right. So we just compared if this element is greater than this one, then in this array we should get the greater element, and else we should get -1. So we'll write here is equal to -1 like this, and at last we will print the array. So we got 0, 21, 21, 0. So here our result is wrong, and you can see the program again. So our loop is starting with 1, and this is the first problem. That's why we got here 0 instead of 21. And the last element is 0. It is because the last element will never be compared. So that's why last element will always have a value -1 only, we know, because there's no element towards right of it. So we can simply just put array 2 and the last element will be in -1 index. This will be equal to -1. And if we run this, now we got the correct answer. Let's move ahead. So question 38 says to remove consecutive duplicates. So we already have the array above. Let us take the length of the array, maybe -1 as in, and we'll make a new array now. It so new arr, and it should have the same length as the array. So we need to remove the conjugate duplicate elements. So of course the first element of both the arrays will be the same. So we'll just say new array with index 0 is equals to array with index 0. And now we'll use for loop. So I is less than n and I plus plus. Inside this, we will check if I is equal to the next element or not. That is, if they are duplicates or not. So if there are duplicates, we can add it into this array. But for adding in this array, we need another variable. So let us say int k is 0. Now we'll say at the kth index element of new array, this element will be added. And then k plus plus like this. We'll have to make another result array, and here we'll be using slicing. So for that we'll use copy of range. Arrays copy of range. This is a method used for slicing. So we'll have to slice new ARR, yes, and then it will be from 0 to k. This is from 0 to which element, and then we'll print the result array. So why did we use slicing? Because we can get extra zeros in this new array, and that's why after slicing we can just remove the zero, because we know only k elements are added in the new array, because we added it according to the index k only. So some extra zeros which will be added in the new array will be removed from the result array. So like you can see, we got 7621 as the answer. Uh, Here we should also get this 13, and I think the problem is this k should start from 1. Yeah, so now we got the correct one. Now let us say there are some consecutive elements. So now only 6 is removed because they are adjacent to each other, but 7 are not adjacent, so they are not removed. Yeah, so now let's move on. Question 39 says to find all subarrays with sum equal to 0. So if we take an array, better I would have copied from above, but it's okay. Now let us take with some 0. So 6 minus 6 will be 0, and here also it will be 0. We have calculated the length of the array. Now we'll check the subarrays. So we are iterating over the loop, and we'll take one variable sum. So this will be equal to the element itself, and then j will start from I plus 1. It will go till n, and it will be incremented by 1 every time, and then we'll add this jth index element of array to sum. We'll also have to slice here. uh don't have to print, we have to slice, so it will be copy of range, and inside this it will be from I to j plus 1. Mm, and then we have to print this. So this is slice. So what we did here is mm, this should be inside if sum is 0, because we have the condition given in the question that sum should be 0, and then we have to find all the subarrays. So what we did is we just went in the loop. Then we assign the variable sum as the value of the particular element, and then we saw like with 13, if 7 is added, then will we get 0, then if 6 is added, will we get 0, like this. So when 6 is added with minus 6, we'll get 0. Then when it will be added with minus 12, we won't. But when it will be added to 12, like all these four elements, then we again get 0. So that will be printed. Let us see the result. So we got all the subarrays whose sum will be equal to 0. Now let us move on with 40th question, which is to rearrange array in alternating positive and negative numbers. And it's given in the question that array contains equal number of positive and negative elements. So let us take 1, comma 2, minus 3, minus 4, 5, minus 6. Here we have 3 negative and 3 positive elements. And we will be making one another array which will be of the same length as ARR. Now we'll see if the position of the positive, like if the number is positive, then it should be added in the even or odd position, one of them, and vice versa. So let's take variable for positive 0 and negative is 1, like this. Now we'll say for every number in the array, if number is greater than 0 or equal to 0, because in positive will include 0 as well, and it is less than the length of the array, then result with index this is equal to the num. That is, if the number is positive, then we'll add in the even index, that is 0. And when it will be added, then pos, that is positive, it should be increased by 2. Similarly, we will be writing for the negative as well. So if num is less than 0 and negative is less than the length of the array, then result neg. This will be equal to num and this will be increased by 2. And at the last, we'll print the result. So it is alternating positive and negative. Now let us see 41 question. Next question is to find the majority element, that is the element occurring greater than the length of the array divided by 2 this much of times. So for that we need to find the frequency first. Let us take some array and its length. Then we'll use the for loop. So I is less than n, I plus plus. Then int frequency is 1 and for loop for j is equal to I plus 1. j less than n and j plus plus. Then we'll see if with ith index is equal to jth, then frequency will be increased by 1. So basically we are just seeing the frequency as we saw in one of the above questions as well. Then we'll see if frequency is greater than n by 2. Then we will print array with index as I and break. So let us see. We got 1 as the answer. So just 7 divided by 2 is 3.5 and greater than 3 is 1's frequency only. So we got the correct answer. We just saw the frequency and then we compared it. If it's greater than the length divided by 2, then we'll print it and we'll break. Next is question 42, which is similar to 41. It says to find the element that appears only once. So you can try it yourself. For any doubts, you can comment below. Now let's move to question number 43, which is to find leaders in an array. Leader means an element greater than all elements to its right. So let us take this array and now let us say for int I is 0, I is less than, we have to calculate the length. So I is less than minus 1 and I plus plus. Then we'll see boolean is leader is equal to true. Then for int I is equal to, or we already have taken I, so j is equal to I plus 1, j is less than n minus 1 and j plus plus. So if the array with index I is less than equal to array with index j, then is leader is equal to false and then break. And then simply here we'll say if is leader, then it should print array with index I. So we got 5 and 1 as the answer. So if we see 5 is greater than all the elements to its side. Here one should not be printed, so let us see. And yeah, in this j should go till n minus 1 because we should also consider the last element, and that's why 1 is less than 4 and it was not considered. So let us check this now, and yeah, now we got the correct answer. So let us move ahead now with question number 44. Question 44 says to find the longest consecutive sequence in an array. Okay, so that means like if it's 1 2 3, then 1 2 3 4 5 8 9, like this. So 1 2 3 4 5 will be the longest consecutive sequence. So first we'll have to write array, so let us say 100 4 200 something, and then we'll sort it. So we have sorted using the inbuilt function sort. And now we'll take variables. So first one will be max. So int max is 1 and current length, like we took in one of the above question. Yeah. So now what we have to do is, for int I is equal to 1, I is less than the length of the array, I plus plus. And inside this we'll see if this is equal to I minus 1 plus 1. So basically we are just saying if the previous array plus 1 is equal to the next element of that array. So if this condition is true, then current length should be increased by 1. Else if with index I, if it's not equal to I minus 1, then current length should be equal to 1. That is, we reset the current length because the array was not in a continuous one, like it was not adding, it skipped some number. And now finally we'll compare if current length is greater than maximum length, then we'll change the value of maximum length, and maximum length then will be equal to current length. And at the last we'll just print the maximum length. So we got here 4. So 4 is our maximum length because 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the consecutive array that was formed. So let's see the next question, which is to find tuplets whose sum equals a given number. So int array is equal to 1, 2, 3, 9, 4, 5. And now let's say the number be 12. So we'll take 3 numbers now. So taking 3 numbers means we want 3 loops now. So first one should go from 0 to n minus 2, and then the second one, let us take j, so it will go till n minus 1, and then the third one, let us take it k, it will start from I plus 1. And we haven't defined n, so we have to define n as well. So n is equal to the length of the array. So it is going from 0 to n minus 2, then I plus 1 to n minus 1, and this will go from j plus 1 to n and k plus plus, like this. And here if I plus that of j plus that of k, these three is equal to num. Num is this which we want the result of the sum, as sum of the 3 elements should be equal to 12. So here we will be printing I plus this plus arrj, then plus, and here k. Now let us see. We got 1, 2, 9, so this is 12, and 3, 4, 5, and some of these 3 are also 12. So basically we just got from 0 to less than n minus 2, which is still here. Then j is from this to this,
and k went from this to this. And like this, we just summed up the I, j, and kth element of the array. If their sum is equal to the given number, which was 12 here, then we'll just print all the three elements. Now the next question is to find product of array except itself. Let us take an array. So let it be 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what this question says is, mm, like if we have to calculate for index 0, then it will be except index 0, all other elements should be multiplied like this. If it is for index 1, then it will be except for index 1, which is element 2. So 1 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 4, like this. So we have to do it for all the elements. So for every element, we need to multiply every other element except itself. Now we'll calculate the length of the array, and then now we'll take one array. Let us name it as result. Then result is equal to new int n. So int result equals to new int and n because it should have the same length as this array arr. And now we'll start the for loop. So for j is equals to 0, j is less than n, j plus plus. Then we'll make one variable here multiply because we need the multiplication of the numbers. And then we'll take another loop here. So I, because I took j above, so here I'll take I. And in this, if I is not equal to j, so like if the element is not itself, then we'll multiply it because we need to multiply all the elements except itself. And we need to store this result of multiplication in an array which we made result above. And at the last we will just print arrays dot to string and the name of array is result. When we print this, we get 18764 as the answer. Let's just check for here for index 1 it should have been 24. For index for index 0, for index 1 it should have been 12. So I guess there is a mistake. Let us check. So let us check the program. And yeah, here we should multiply I because j is the outer loop and I is the inner loop. This time I just swapped the variables, so that's why it should be multiplied with I. And now if we check 2 into 3 6 24, yeah, and for 2 the 12, for 3 8, and for 4 it should be 6. And yeah, now it's correct. Alright, so let's move ahead with question 47, which says to implement two-sum problem efficiently. But what is to some problem exactly? So it is that when we have an array of numbers and a target number, we must find two different elements in the array whose sum equals the target and print their positions, not the numbers. So we have the array, let us say this, and the target number. So let it be this. Now we have to find two different elements in the array whose sum equals this target number, and we have to print its index, not the number itself. Okay, so we'll take one boolean value variable found. Now we'll use two loops here because we have to find the sum of two numbers. Let us also take here int n is equal to array length. So here it will be n minus 1 I plus plus, and inside this we'll write for j is equal to I plus 1, j is less than n, j plus plus. And here we'll write if this plus j is equal to target, then we have to print I plus j, and we'll also set the value of found equals to true. We can easily print here now if not equal to found. That is, if this value of found is false, then what should it print? No solution formed or found, sorry. And here, yeah, I forgot to write int, so that error is coming. So we got answer as 0 and 1. So that means index 0 and index 1, which is 2 plus 7 is 9. So that is correct. Now let us see question 48. 48th question is to find equilibrium index of array. An index I is called equilibrium index if sum of elements on left side is equal to sum of elements on right side, and that element, particularly that index I element, is not included. So first let us write the array and we'll calculate its length. Then we'll use for int I is 0, I is less than n minus 1 I plus plus. Then we'll take two left sum and right sum. Left sum, and this one is right sum. Let us keep it small only. Now we'll use the for loop. So for int j is equal to 0, j should be less than I, then j plus plus, because we have to calculate from left and right. So here first we'll just go from 0 to I, then in second we go from I plus 1 to n. I is not included any because we don't want to sum that. Just have to see on the left and right of I. So this one is j is equals to I plus 1, j is less than n, and j plus plus. Then right sum plus equal to arrj, and like this. If right sum is equal to left sum, then we'll just print I. So let us run this. We got 2 as the answer. So if we see 3 plus 1 is 4, 2 plus 2 is 4. And 5 is the index whose left sum and right sum are same. So this is the right answer. Now let us see question number 49, which says to convert array into zigzag fashion. What is a zigzag fashion? It's like when we say the 0th index, it should be less than first index. First index should be greater than second index, and so on like this. So the pattern is even index should be smaller than next one, and odd index should be greater than next. So we again take an array like 4 3 7 8 6 2 1 3 2 1 whatever, and we'll calculate the length. Then we take one variable temp, and we'll use the for loop, and we'll see if that is divisible by 2 or not, the index of that number. So first one is like we are starting with the first index, and here we are seeing if I is divisible by 2 or not. So we'll say if I is not divisible by 2. So if I is not divisible by 2, then the ith element should be compared with I plus 1, and if this element is smaller than this one, then we need to swap both of them. So to swap it, we are using this temp variable. This should be equal to this one, and then equal to this. And we'll put another condition else. If this is greater than I plus 1, then we'll swap it, and at the last we'll just print this. So let us see the result. We got this as the output, and let us check if the even index elements are smaller than next. So this one is smaller than this, and yeah, if odd one is greater than next. Yes, so it is correct, and we have successfully made our zigzag fashion. Now let's move on to the 50th question, which is to implement Dutch natural flag problem, that is to sort zeros, ones, and twos. We will be given an array with only zeros, ones, and twos, and basically we just have to sort the array without using built-in sort and without using an extra array. So let us write the array. So maybe it is this, and then we have to make variables. So first one we have to count 0, then we have to count 1, and then we have to count 2. Thereafter, for int num in ARR, if number is 0, then we have to increase the count 0 by 1. Else if number is 1, then we'll increase the count 1, and else what we'll do, we'll increase the count of 2. Like if it's not 0, not 1, then it will be 2. Then we'll make another variable index, and what we will be doing is we'll just change the numbers of these arrays. Like we'll just put zeros first, then ones, then twos, because we already know how many zeros 1 and 2 are there. So we'll write here while count 0 is greater than 0, in the array 0 will be added, and we'll just decrease it by 1 like this and increase index by 1. Similarly, we'll do for 1 and 2. So let us just copy this. For 1 and 2, and 1 should be added here, here 2 should be added, and at the last we just have to print, and we have this for loop. Think it should end here, and here we can print arrays dot to string. Name of our array is ARR. So you can see there were two zeros, two each, so we got two each here, but sorted. So that was question 50. If you have made it this far, congratulations. You now have a much stronger grasp of Java arrays than most developers. Mastering arrays is just the beginning. If you want to continue your Java journey, I highly recommend checking out my full Java tutorial for beginners playlist. If this session helped you today, please hit the like button and let me know in the comments how many of these 50 questions were you able to solve on your own. And of course, if you haven't already, subscribe to Infosmart Solutions and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our upcoming practice sessions. Thanks for watching, keep coding, and I'll see you in the next video. Happy coding!